She was on her knees in designer heels she couldn't afford, bleeding from champagne glass while 200 people filmed her humiliation for content, when the most dangerous man in the room, the one every woman had been throwing themselves at all night, dropped into a $10,000 suit beside her and said 5 words that would ruin her life. "Let me help you, please." The Korean Mafia boss they whispered about in bathrooms, the one who owned half the city and answered to no one, was picking up her broken glass with bare hands while his rivals watched in shock. And she had absolutely no idea that accepting his hand meant declaring war on every woman in that ballroom. If you want to see what happens when the most powerful man alive chooses the girl everyone ignored, stay locked in, because her pastor father is about to find out who she's falling for, and that conversation will destroy everything. The Belmont Hotel's diamond ballroom glittered with wealth Naomi Baptiste would never touch. She wasn't supposed to be there, just helping her friend Jessica manage the gift table, wearing a Target dress among women draped in monthly rent. When someone shoved her from behind, hard, intentional, the champagne tray exploded across marble like a detonation. "Oh my God! Someone get security! Is she with catering? Just film it." Naomi's hands scrambled for glass shards, face burning. "Don't cry. Not here. Not for their entertainment." Then he moved through the crowd like a knife through silk. Minjun Park. The man every socialite had been circling, the one they whispered about in elevators. 6 feet of controlled danger in midnight blue, the kind of presence that made people step aside without knowing why. He knelt beside her without asking permission. The ballroom went silent. "Please." His voice was quiet but absolute. "Let me help." But here's what nobody in that room knew yet, and what would change everything in the next 60 seconds. "You're bleeding," he gestured to her palm where glass had sliced deep. "And these vultures have cameras instead of humanity. So please, let me." His hands that had signed contracts worth millions, hands that had done things she couldn't imagine, picked up champagne-soaked glass with surgical precision. A server appeared instantly with cleaning supplies, clearly terrified of disappointing him. 90 seconds. That's all it took. Glass gone, floor pristine. Crowd slowly remembering how to breathe. Minjun stood, extending his hand. "Come with me. That cut needs proper attention." "I'm fine." That wasn't a request. His eyes held hers, and something in them made her heart stop. Not cruelty, not pity. Recognition. Like he'd been looking for her his entire life, and just now found her. "Trust me." She took his hand. He positioned his body between her and the cameras, blocking their view like a human shield, and walked her through a ballroom full of women who looked ready to commit murder. And that's when Brittany Chen made her first mistake. The whispers followed them like wildfire. "Is that Minjun Park? Who the hell is she? Brittany's going to lose her mind." He led her to a private VIP lounge, empty, quiet, clearly his. He moved through the space with ownership, finding medical supplies like he'd done this 100 times before. "Sit." Not a command, a request wrapped in authority. He knelt in front of her again, and up close he was devastating. Sharp cheekbones, eyes that cataloged everything, hands that moved with the confidence of someone who understood control at a molecular level. "This will sting." He cleaned her cut with antiseptic, gentle despite the warning. She hissed, but didn't pull away. "You've done this before. More than I'd like." Something dark flickered across his face, gone before she could name it. "I'm Minjun Park. You already know that from the vultures broadcasting it. Naomi Baptiste." She watched his hands work. "You own buildings. I acquire assets." He applied a bandage with surprising tenderness. "There's a difference. What do you do, Naomi Baptiste?" "Social worker. Child Protective Services. I help kids escape bad situations." His hands paused. Just a fraction of a second, but she caught it. When he looked up, something had shifted in his expression. "That's important work." "It's impossible work," she corrected. Everyone thinks it's simple. Save kids, problem solved. But family systems are complex. Trauma is layered. Sometimes the right answer isn't obvious. You sound like someone who understands that solutions require seeing the whole picture. He finished the bandage. Most people only see surfaces. And what do you see, Mr. Park? What he said next would haunt her for months. Min-jun, and I see someone who doesn't perform wealth like everyone in that ballroom. Someone who apologizes for accidents that weren't her fault. Someone who... He paused, choosing words carefully. Interests me deeply. Her pulse kicked. That's very direct. I don't have time for games. He stood but didn't step back. The women out there circled me all night like I'm a business acquisition. You looked at me like I was just a person who might help. Do you know how rare that is? Maybe you're in the wrong rooms. He smiled. Actually smiled, and it transformed everything. Maybe I am. Are you free tomorrow evening? Are you asking me on a date? I'm asking if you'd like dinner. Somewhere quiet. Away from cameras and people who measure worth in clothing labels. He pulled out his phone. Your number. Unless you'd prefer I follow proper protocols and ask Jessica for an introduction. Naomi's fingers trembled as she entered her number. I'm not a proper protocols person. Good. His contact came through with just his name and a string of numbers. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. I'll text you the address. I can drive myself. I'm sure you can do everything yourself, Naomi. His voice dropped, intimate. The question is whether you'll let someone do something kind without arguing about independence. She studied him, recognized the test. Fine, 7 p.m., but I'm driving. I'll meet you there. A small smile. Compromise. I like that. He moved toward the door, then paused. Naomi? Thank you. For spilling champagne? For being real in a room full of performances. He held her gaze. And for not asking about my net worth in the first 5 minutes. You'd be surprised how rare that is. He was gone before she could respond, leaving her with a bandaged hand and something terrifying blooming in her chest. But outside that room, Brittany Chen was already making phone calls that would turn Naomi's life into a war zone. Jessica found her immediately. Girl, what happened? Do you know who Min-jun Park is? He helped me clean up glass. He kneels for no one, Naomi. I've worked a dozen events with him. Polite, generous, completely untouchable. He just kneeled in the Belmont Ballroom for you. Jessica gripped her arm. And Brittany Chen looks homicidal. We need to leave. Now. Naomi glanced across the room. Brittany stood with a cluster of women, all staring at her with open hostility that made her skin crawl. She left through the service entrance, avoiding everything. Only in her car did she let herself process what just happened. Her phone buzzed. Min-jun. Get home safely. Text when you arrive so I know angry socialites didn't accost you in the parking garage. Despite everything, she smiled. Naomi. Home in 20 minutes. Are angry socialites a common problem? Min-jun. You'd be surprised. Though usually they're just angry I didn't notice them. You. I noticed immediately. Naomi. Why? Min-jun. Because everyone else was looking at me. You were looking at the exit, calculating escape routes, assessing risk. I understand that instinct. It made me curious. She stared at the message, heart pounding. Naomi. See you tomorrow at 7. Min-jun. Already counting the hours. What she didn't know. Min-jun had been watching her for 20 minutes before the champagne incident. What she didn't know, he'd positioned himself exactly where he'd need to be to reach her first. What she didn't know? The woman who shoved her? She'd just made an enemy of the most dangerous man in the city. And by morning, she'd understand exactly what that meant. Here's where it gets complicated. The restaurant Min-jun chose was perfect. Upscale but not pretentious, intimate but not claustrophobic. Naomi arrived exactly on time in a simple blue dress, and Min-jun was already there, standing when she approached. You came. Like he'd genuinely worried she wouldn't. You doubted? People often commit, and then Google who I actually am. He pulled out her chair. Did you Google me, Naomi? She sat, meeting his eyes. Yes. Real estate development, philanthropic foundations, tech investments. Very successful. Very private, very... She paused. Suspiciously clean for someone with that much power. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise. Or appreciation. Suspiciously clean. Interesting observation. I work with crisis families. When something looks too perfect, it usually means someone's very good at controlling the narrative. She accepted the wine menu. So either you're genuinely ethical and successful, or you're very good at hiding what makes you successful. Minjun leaned back, studying her with open fascination. Which do you think? I think you're complicated. And I think you asked me here because I'm one of the few people who didn't immediately try to use you. You're right, about all of it. He ordered wine with absolute certainty. I am complicated. I am good at controlling narratives. And yes, I asked you here because you treated me like a person instead of a resource. Is that lonely? Being treated like a resource? Yes. The answer was immediate, honest. Very lonely. And that's when he told her the truth that would change everything between them. What followed was 3 hours that felt like 30 minutes. They talked about her impossible work with Child Protective Services, the way systemic poverty created unbreakable cycles, his work acquiring properties, the way gentrification displaced communities, his attempts to balance profit with conscience. Most developers don't care about displacement, Naomi observed. Most developers don't grow up poor. Minjun's voice was quiet. My family immigrated with nothing. 1-bedroom apartment, my grandmother, parents, 2 younger sisters. I watched our neighborhood change, watched families like mine get pushed out by people who wanted authentic culture without the actual people who created it. Is that why you do this? Redemption? Is that why you do this? He turned the question back. Redemption for something? Naomi was quiet. Then, my brother was in foster care. Our mother had addiction issues. I was old enough to avoid placement. Jamal wasn't. 7 homes in 4 years before. He aged out. No college. No support. She swallowed. Struggling now. I couldn't save him. So maybe I'm trying to save other kids because I failed my own brother. Minjun reached across the table, covering her hand. The touch was warm, steady, grounding. That's not redemption, Naomi. That's transformation. Taking pain and turning it into purpose. Is that what you do? I try. His thumb brushed her knuckles. Though my methods are probably more aggressive than yours. Aggressive how? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I don't just build buildings. I protect investments. Sometimes that means protecting them from people who would destroy value for short-term gain. Sometimes that means making difficult decisions that prioritize long-term stability over immediate profit. There was something careful in his phrasing, like he was telling truth while withholding details. Minjun, she said quietly, what do you actually do? He held her gaze. I told you. Real estate, development, and sometimes real estate requires insurance, protection, relationships that ensure projects complete successfully despite opposition. Her social worker instincts kicked in, reading subtext, hearing what wasn't said. You're connected. Not a question. He didn't deny it. I operate in a world where success requires understanding power structures outside legal frameworks. I don't apologize for that, but I also don't lie about it to people who ask directly. Naomi should have been afraid. Should have stood up, walked out, protected herself. Instead, thank you for being honest. You're not running. Should I be? Most people would. His hand was still covering hers. Most people here connected and imagine violence, criminality, danger. They're not entirely wrong, but they're not entirely right either. I work with gang-affiliated families every week, Naomi said. I know the difference between people who choose violence and people who navigate systems that sometimes require it for survival. Which are you? Both. His honesty was startling. I choose my path, but I also navigate systems that don't forgive weakness. It's complicated. You keep saying that. Complicated. She turned her hand under his, lacing their fingers. I'm good with complicated. Why? His voice was raw. Why aren't you afraid? Because you helped me when you didn't have to. Because you've been honest when you could have lied. Because everything about you says dangerous, but everything about how you treat me says safe. And I trust my instincts. Something in his chest rearranged itself permanently. He'd built an empire on control, on managing variables, on never letting anyone close enough to see the machinery beneath. But this woman looked at him and saw both the danger and the person, and somehow wasn't running. Naomi, he said quietly, if you let me, I'd like to see you again. And again. And as many times as you'll allow. But I need you to understand what that means. Tell me. It means people will talk. You'll be associated with me, with my reputation. The women from the gala will make your life difficult because they wanted my attention, and you have it. It means... He paused. Entering a world that isn't always kind to outsiders. Will you protect me in that world? With everything I have. The promise was absolute. Then I'm not afraid of gossip. She smiled. Though I should warn you, my father is a Baptist pastor. He's going to have opinions about you. Minjun laughed, surprised and genuine. I look forward to that conversation. What neither of them knew, that conversation was coming sooner than they thought, and it would be far more dangerous than either could imagine. They left at midnight, and when he walked her to her car, he stopped her with a gentle hand on her arm. Can I kiss you? The fact that he asked made her answer easy. Yes. He kissed her like she was precious, carefully, thoroughly, with reverence, that made her knees weak. When they broke apart, his forehead rested against hers. I'm going to fall in love with you, he said quietly. I think I'm already halfway there. Good, she whispered. Because I'm right behind you. The next 3 weeks unfolded like a dream, disguised as reality. Minjun would text her mid-work day, never demanding, always considerate. Thinking of you. Hope your case meeting went well. Or, new coffee shop near your office. They have those lavender lattes you mentioned liking. They'd meet for dinner at quiet restaurants where he knew owners, where privacy was guaranteed. He'd ask about her cases, the complicated ones, the heartbreaking ones, and listen with focused attention that made her feel truly heard. She learned that Minjun's complicated business meant operating in gray spaces between legal enterprise and organized power. His developments were legitimate, his methods for ensuring their success, less so. I don't hurt innocent people, he told her one night, fingers playing with hers across the table. But I do ensure that people who would sabotage projects, who would use violence or corruption to block development, face consequences. Consequences like what? Financial pressure? Social exposure? Sometimes. Pause. Physical persuasion when other methods fail. You're telling me you're in the Mafia. I'm telling you, I lead an organization that protects business interests through traditional and non-traditional means. His eyes were steady. And I'm telling you because I won't lie to you, Naomi. Ever. But here's what he wasn't telling her yet, and what would explode in both their faces within 72 hours. She should have run. Every logical part of her brain screamed danger, career suicide, possibly literal suicide. But she also saw how he treated people. Employees, restaurant staff, the men who clearly worked security for him. Respectful. Fair. Demanding but never cruel. I'm not asking you to be comfortable with everything I do, Minjun said quietly. I'm asking if you can accept that I exist in moral complexity, that I'm not a villain, but also not a hero, Just a man trying to build something meaningful in a world that doesn't always reward ethics. I see foster parents abuse kids while passing home studies, Naomi said slowly. I see parents who love desperately but can't overcome addiction. I see judges destroy families because law doesn't account for nuance. I understand moral complexity. So you're not leaving? I'm not leaving. She squeezed his hand. But Minjun, if you ever lie to me, if you ever put me in danger without warning me first, we're done. I need honesty. I need agency. I need to make informed choices about risk. I promise. He brought her hand to his lips. Complete honesty. Always. What she didn't tell him, she was already in love. What she didn't tell him, introducing him to her father was going to be catastrophic. What she didn't tell him, she'd never felt safer with anyone, which terrified her more than his criminal connections ever could. And in exactly 6 days, all 3 of those truths would collide in her parents' dining room in the most explosive way possible. The dinner at her parents' house started exactly as predicted. Badly. Pastor Jerome Baptiste sat at the table's head with pulpit-commanding presence. Her mother Grace fluttered nervously, trying to mediate before conflict even started. Minjun arrived exactly on time, carrying flowers for her mother and expensive wine her father eyed with immediate suspicion. Mr. Park. Pastor Baptiste's tone was careful. Naomi tells us you're in real estate. Yes, sir. Development and property management primarily. And what does that pay? Enough to support a family? Cover the kind of needs Naomi would have? Dad, Naomi warned. I'm asking practical questions, baby girl. Her father turned to Minjun. My daughter helps vulnerable children. She has a calling. What's yours? Making money? Minjun set down his fork carefully. My purpose is building communities, creating housing that doesn't displace existing residents, ensuring development benefits people who already live in neighborhoods, not just investors wanting profit. Pretty speech, her father said. But I've met plenty of developers. They talk community until money gets tight. Then suddenly it's luxury condos and displaced families. You're right to be skeptical, sir. Minjun's voice stayed calm. Most developers prioritize profit. I try to find balance, though I won't pretend I'm purely altruistic. I make money. But I also employ 300 people, many from communities facing hiring discrimination. I fund scholarships. You're buying my approval with your resume, Pastor Baptiste interrupted. That might work in your business world, Mr. Park, but this is my daughter. And I know men like you. Powerful, wealthy, used to getting what you want. What happens when Naomi isn't convenient? When her work conflicts with your social obligations? When she has opinions that don't align with your business interests? Naomi felt Minjun's hand find hers under the table, squeeze gently, release. And then he said the 7 words that would change everything. Pastor Baptiste, Minjun said quietly, I respect your concern. You love your daughter. You want to protect her from men who would use or discard her. That's your job as a father. Pause. But with respect, sir, Naomi isn't a child needing your permission to make choices. She's a brilliant, strong woman who navigates complex systems daily. She knows her worth. And she's chosen to spend time with me despite knowing exactly who and what I am. And what are you, Mr. Park? Her father's eyes narrowed. Really? The table went silent. Minjun could have lied, could have maintained the developer fiction. Instead, he met Pastor Baptiste's eyes squarely. I'm a man who operates in spaces between legal and illegal enterprise. I protect business interests through traditional and non-traditional means. Some of my methods would trouble you. Some would probably horrify you. But I don't lie about it. I don't prey on the vulnerable. And I don't apologize for building power in a world that doesn't give it freely to people who look like me. Pastor Baptiste's face cycled through emotions, shock, anger, something that might have been grudging respect. You're telling me, he said slowly, that you're a criminal. I'm telling you, Minjun corrected, that I exist in moral complexity, and that I love your daughter. Completely. Without reservation, in ways that scare me because I've never let anyone close enough to matter before. Naomi's breath caught. He'd never said it directly before. Her father stood slowly, and for a terrifying moment Naomi thought he'd ask Minjun to leave. Instead, "Walk with me, Mr. Park. We need to talk privately." What happened in that backyard conversation would determine whether this relationship survived or died in the next 10 minutes. They went outside, leaving Naomi and her mother in charged silence. "He loves you," Grace said softly. "I love him too," Naomi whispered. "Your father's scared. After Jamal, after everything with your brother." Grace touched her daughter's hand. "He couldn't protect Jamal. He's terrified of failing to protect you too." Outside, Minjun and Pastor Baptiste stood under the oak tree. Two men who understood power from completely different perspectives. "You love my daughter?" Not a question. "Yes, sir." "And you're involved in organized crime?" "Yes, sir." "Those two facts are incompatible in my mind, Mr. Park. How do you reconcile them?" Minjun was quiet for a long moment. "My father worked 3 jobs and still couldn't afford decent housing. He died of a heart attack at 48, killed by stress and systems that didn't value immigrant labor. I watched my mother clean houses for people who treated her like furniture. I decided then that I would build power those systems couldn't touch. That meant operating outside them." He met the pastor's eyes. "I know what I am. I know the moral cost of my choices. But I also know I've created opportunities for people who looked like my parents, who faced the same barriers. And I know I would burn my entire empire to the ground before I let anyone hurt Naomi." "That's not comfort, Mr. Park. That's a threat assessment." "It's both." Minjun's voice was steady. "I can't promise I'll keep Naomi completely safe from my world, but I can promise I'll be honest with her. That I'll give her agency in decisions affecting her safety, and that I'll love her with everything I have. Even when it's complicated. Even when it's hard." Pastor Baptiste studied him for a long time. Finally, he sighed. "I don't approve of your business, Mr. Park. I likely never will. But..." Pause. "My daughter is an adult. She makes her own choices. And if she's chosen you, then I have to trust she sees something worth the risk." "Thank you, sir." "Don't thank me yet." Pastor Baptiste's voice hardened. "Because if you hurt her, if you betray her trust, if you use her goodness to excuse your crimes, you'll answer to me. And I promise you, Mr. Park, I have relationships with power structures you don't control. Do we understand each other?" Minjun smiled slightly. "Perfectly, sir." They shook hands. Not friendship, but mutual understanding. When they returned inside, Naomi looked between them with anxious hope. "We've reached an understanding," her father said gruffly. Then, to Minjun, "You're invited to Sunday dinner, every week. If you're going to be part of Naomi's life, you'll be part of this family." Minjun bowed slightly. "I'd be honored, sir." Later, in his car outside her apartment, Minjun pulled Naomi close. "I told your father I love you," he said quietly. "I should have told you first." "You did tell me first," she corrected, remembering the kiss. "You said you were falling. I assumed you'd eventually land." "I've landed." He cupped her face gently, completely, irrevocably. "I love you, Naomi Baptiste. Your kindness, your strength, the way you see complexity in people instead of categories. You make me want to be better than what I am." "I love you too," she whispered. "All of you. Even the complicated parts." "This is going to be hard," he warned. "My world, your world. They don't naturally align. People will judge you. Your work might be affected. Your safety..." "Minjun." She pressed a finger to his lips. "I know what I'm choosing. You've been honest. I have agency. I choose you. With all the complications, with all the risk. I choose you." He kissed her then, deep, desperate, full of promise. But what neither of them knew, In exactly 2 weeks, Naomi's phone would explode with notifications that would test everything they'd just promised each other. And the women who'd wanted Minjun's attention were about to show her exactly what war looked like. 2 weeks later, Naomi's phone detonated. Celebrity gossip sites, social media, local news, all running the same story. Mystery woman captures Korean business mogul Minjun Park's heart. Photos from charity events they'd attended together. Private dinners someone captured on long-range cameras. Moments that should have been intimate now broadcast for public consumption. But worse were the comments. Who is she? She's so basic. He could have anyone and he chooses her? Must be a diversity thing. 3 months before he gets bored. She's clearly using him for money. Brittany Chen led the charge, posting elaborate threads about social climbers and people who don't belong in certain circles. Naomi sat in her office staring at her phone, trying not to cry. A knock. Jessica peeked in. You okay? They're destroying me, Naomi said quietly. People I've never met are deciding I'm worthless because I don't look like Minjun's previous acquaintances. His previous acquaintances were shallow. Social climbers, Jessica said firmly. You're a social worker who saves kids. You win by default. But winning didn't feel like this. Winning didn't feel like having her integrity questioned, her motives assumed, her worth measured by clothing budgets and social media followers. Her phone rang. Minjun. I saw the posts, he said without preamble. I'm handling it. Handling it how? Brittany Chen's family company just lost their primary investor. The gossip blogger who started this received a cease and desist from lawyers who terrify them, and I'm about to release a statement that will make our relationship explicitly clear. Minjun, you can't threaten people every time someone is mean to me. Watch me. His voice was cold in a way she'd never heard. They can say what they want about me. I'm used to it. But they don't get to attack you. Not without consequences. And that's when Naomi realized something terrifying. Loving Minjun meant accepting that his version of protection looked like war. This is exactly what my father was worried about, Naomi said quietly. You using power to control situations, to eliminate problems with force instead of letting things resolve naturally. Silence on the line. Then, carefully. You're right. I'm sorry. What would you prefer? The fact that he asked, that he stopped and listened instead of just acting, made her chest tight. I'd prefer, she said slowly, that you let me handle this myself. I'm not fragile. I can deal with mean comments and jealous socialites. What I need from you is support, not protection. There's a difference. Teach me the difference. His voice was raw. Because every instinct I have says to eliminate threats to you immediately and permanently. Support is being available when I need you. Protection is deciding what I need without asking me first. She softened. I love that you want to defend me. But I need to fight my own battles, Minjun. Otherwise, I'm just another person you're managing, instead of partnering with. Long pause. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm not used to... He stopped. Not used to what? Not used to caring about someone enough that attacks on them feel like attacks on me. It's new. I'm not handling it well. Despite everything, Naomi smiled. We'll figure it out, together. That's how partnerships work. Together, he repeated. I like that. That evening, Minjun posted a single photo on his rarely used social media. Him and Naomi at a charity event. Her laughing at something he'd said. Him looking at her like she'd hung the moon. Caption. To be clear, Naomi Baptiste is the most intelligent, compassionate, extraordinary person I've ever met. If you have a problem with that, it says more about you than it does about her. Comments disabled because your opinions aren't relevant to my happiness. The post went viral. Split public opinion. Made Naomi simultaneously more famous and more protected. Because now everyone knew Minjun Park had chosen, and he didn't choose lightly. But in a downtown office building, three men in expensive suits were having a conversation that would test that choice in ways neither Minjun nor Naomi could imagine. 3 months later, Naomi stood in the lobby of Minjun's downtown building, waiting for him to finish a meeting. His assistant texted that he was running late. Some situation requiring immediate attention. She was scrolling through case files when three men in expensive suits approached. "You're Naomi Baptiste," the tallest one said. "Not a question. Can I help you? We're business associates of Minjun's. We've been curious about the woman who finally captured his attention." The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. "You don't look like his usual type." "I'm not sure he has a type," Naomi said carefully, social worker instincts screaming danger. "Oh, he does. Powerful, connected, useful." The man stepped closer. "What exactly do you offer, Miss Baptiste? Besides the obvious diversity optics?" Before Naomi could respond, Minjun's voice cut through the lobby like a blade. "Sangwoo." The single word carried enough threat to make the men step back immediately. "You're addressing my girlfriend with disrespect in my building. Explain why I shouldn't remove you permanently." Minjun appeared from the elevator, and Naomi had never seen him like this. Cold, dangerous, every bit the organized crime leader he'd admitted to being. "We were just introducing ourselves," Sangwoo said quickly. "You were testing boundaries." Minjun moved between Naomi and the men with predatory grace. "And you found them. Naomi is off limits. Completely. If anyone in this organization approaches her without explicit invitation, they answer to me directly. Do I make myself clear?" "Crystal," Sangwoo muttered. "Good. Now leave." They left quickly. Minjun turned to Naomi, expression transforming from dangerous to concerned in seconds. "Are you okay? Did they touch you?" "I'm fine," she said, though her hands were shaking. That was my world meeting yours," he said quietly, "and I'm sorry you had to see it." "Who were they?" "Business associates, men who think testing my personal boundaries is acceptable." He pulled her into his arms. "I should have warned you, should have prepared you better." "You told me your world was complicated," Naomi said against his chest. "I believed you, but believing and experiencing are different." "Do you want out?" The question was quiet, pained. "Because I'll understand. This isn't the life you signed up for." What she said next would determine whether their relationship survived or shattered in the next 60 seconds. Naomi pulled back to look at him. "I signed up for you, all of you. The real estate developer and the crime boss and the man who brings me coffee during long case meetings. I'm not leaving because some assholes tried to intimidate me." "You're sure?" "I'm sure." She kissed him firmly. "But Minjun, I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll keep being honest, keep warning me when situations might be dangerous. Keep giving me choice in how involved I am in your other life. Because I can handle complexity, but I can't handle being kept in the dark." "I promise." He rested his forehead against hers. "Complete honesty. Always. Even when it's hard. Even when I want to protect you from truth." That night, lying in his penthouse overlooking the city, Naomi said quietly, "Tell me something true." "I think about you constantly," Minjun said. "During meetings, during negotiations, during moments when I should be focused on strategy. You're the first person I want to tell when something good happens. The first person I think of when things go wrong." "That sounds exhausting," she teased gently. "It's the best kind of exhausting." He pulled her closer. "What about you? Tell me something true." "I'm terrified," she admitted. "Terrified that loving you means compromising my ethics. Terrified that your world will eventually demand choices I can't make. Terrified I'm not strong enough for this." "You're the strongest person I know, Naomi." His voice was fierce. "You face impossible situations every day. You make decisions that affect children's entire lives. I make those decisions within legal frameworks," she interrupted. "Your world doesn't have those frameworks. Your world is about power and leverage and sometimes violence. How do I reconcile loving you with that? He was quiet for a long time. I don't know, he said finally. I wish I had a better answer. But I don't know how to be anything other than what I am. And I don't know how to stop loving you. Then we figure it out together, Naomi said. We set boundaries. We communicate. We trust each other to be honest even when it's complicated. Together, he agreed, kissing her temple. Always together. 6 months into their relationship, Naomi got the call that changed everything. Her brother Jamal had been arrested. Drug possession, parole violation, resisting arrest. He was facing serious time. She sat in the police station at 2 a.m., watching her brother through glass, feeling old helplessness return. Min-jun found her there, somehow alerted by someone on his payroll who monitored police activity. I can help, he said quietly, sitting beside her. How? Her voice was hollow. He violated parole. The evidence is clear. I know judges, lawyers who owe me favors, treatment programs that would take him instead of prison. Min-jun took her hand. I can make this go away, Naomi, or at least make it better. She should have said yes immediately, should have used his power to save her brother. Instead, at what cost? Cost? What would you have to do to make this go away? Who would you threaten? What favors would you call in? What would it cost you? Cost me? Cost us? She met his eyes. Because I can't let you compromise yourself to fix my family's problems. It's not compromising. It is. Her voice cracked. Because you're offering to use exactly the kind of power my father warned me about. The kind that solves problems through force instead of systems. And if I say yes, if I let you do this, then I'm complicit. I'm benefiting from the very things I claim to oppose. Min-jun pulled back slightly. So you'd rather let your brother go to prison when I could help him? I'd rather help him through legitimate means. Good lawyers, treatment advocacy, support systems that don't involve criminal connections. She stood. I love you, Min-jun. But I can't let loving you mean abandoning my principles, not even for Jamal. The words hung between them like smoke. I understand, Min-jun said quietly, and I respect your choice. But Naomi, understand something too. This is who I am. I solve problems with the tools I have. If you can't accept that, if you'll always need me to operate within systems I don't trust and that don't trust me, then maybe what? She turned to face him. Maybe we can't work? Maybe I need to choose between loving you and being who I am? I don't know. His voice was raw. I just know I can help your brother, and you won't let me, and it's killing me to watch you suffer when I have power to change it. They stood in that police station hallway, both hurting, both right, both realizing that love wasn't always enough to bridge fundamental differences. I need to think, Naomi said finally. I need time to figure out if I can reconcile loving you with staying true to myself. Take all the time you need. Min-jun's voice was careful, controlled. But Naomi, know this, I'll be here. Waiting, hoping. Whatever you decide, I'll respect it. He left. Naomi sat back down in the plastic chair, watching her brother sleep in a holding cell, wondering if doing the right thing was supposed to hurt this much. For 2 weeks, Naomi threw herself into helping Jamal through legitimate channels, public defenders, treatment programs, court advocacy. It was slow, grinding, infinitely frustrating work. Min-jun respected her space, didn't push, didn't offer help she hadn't requested, just sent occasional texts. Thinking of you. Here if you need me. Then Jamal's public defender called with news. They'd found a treatment program willing to take him. The judge was considering it in lieu of prison. Not guaranteed, but hope. How? Naomi asked. These programs have year-long wait lists. Someone made a call, the lawyer said carefully. Someone with influence. They specifically requested your brother be considered. Naomi knew immediately who that someone was. She called Min-jun. What did you do? I made a donation to a treatment facility, he said calmly. A legitimate donation. No threats, no coercion, just money to a program that helps people like Jamal. They happen to have a spot open up. Minjun, I didn't cross your boundaries, Naomi. I didn't use criminal connections or force anyone. I just used money, legal money from legal business, to create an opportunity. The rest is up to the courts, and your brother's willingness to do the work. She was quiet for a long moment. Thank you. I love you, he said simply. And I'm learning that supporting you means respecting your principles, even when I don't fully understand them, even when it's harder than using power I have. I love you too. Her voice broke. And I'm sorry I made you feel like who you are wasn't enough, because it is. You are. I just needed to find a way to love you without losing myself. Did you find it? I'm trying. She took a breath. Can we talk? In person? I'll be there in 20 minutes. When he arrived, she pulled him inside and into her arms immediately. I've been thinking, she said against his chest, about us, about how we fit together when we're so different. And I realized something. You said once that engineering isn't about preventing all failures, it's about graceful degradation, building systems flexible enough to handle unexpected conditions. I remember. I think love is the same. She pulled back to look at him. We're not going to agree on everything. You're going to solve problems in ways I wouldn't choose. I'm going to set boundaries you find frustrating. But if we're honest, if we communicate, if we respect each other's principles even when we don't share them, then we can handle the complications, he finished. Together, she agreed. He kissed her then, deep, sure, full of relief. I'm not perfect, he warned. I'm going to make mistakes. Sometimes I'll use power in ways you don't approve of. I know, and I'm going to call you on it. I'm going to push back. I'm going to make you uncomfortable sometimes. Good. He smiled against her lips. I don't want someone who just agrees with me. I want you. All of you. Even the parts that challenge me. Even when I'm annoying about principles? Especially then. He tucked a curl behind her ear. Because your principles are what make you extraordinary. They're why I fell in love with you in the first place. 1 year later, Naomi stood in the crowd at the community center opening, watching Minjun cut the ribbon on the new facility. 18 months of development. A combination residential treatment center, job training program, and community space for families affected by addiction and incarceration. Legitimate, legal. Funded by his real estate profits, and operated by people who cared about outcomes instead of optics. Jamal stood beside her, 6 months sober, working as a peer counselor in the very program that saved his life. Your man did good, Jamal said quietly. He did, Naomi agreed. After the ceremony, Minjun found her in the crowd, pulling her close. Your father is here, he said. He actually smiled at me. I think we're making progress. He respects what you built here, Naomi said. He respects that you listened when I said your power could be used for more than just business. I listened because you were right. He kissed her forehead. You're usually right. It's annoying. She laughed. Get used to it. From across the room, Brittany Chen watched them with a sour expression, then turned away. She'd lost that battle a year ago, and knew it. That evening, on the balcony of Minjun's penthouse, everything changed one more time. Thank you for being patient with me, Naomi said, for learning to use your power in ways I could support. Thank you for pushing me to be better, he countered, for not just accepting who I was, but challenging me to become who I could be. Is that what we do? She asked. Challenge each other to be better? Among other things. He pulled a small box from his pocket. I have a question that might challenge you even more. Naomi's breath caught. Naomi Baptiste, Minjun said, opening the box to reveal a simple, perfect ring. I know I'm complicated. I know loving me means navigating complexity. But I also know You make me better, braver, more human than I ever thought possible. Will you marry me? She didn't hesitate. Yes. He slipped the ring on her finger, and they kissed as the city lights sparkled below them. Later, lying in his arms, Naomi said, "My father's going to want a church wedding." I assumed. I've already talked to him about it. You what? I asked his permission 3 weeks ago. Minjun smiled at her shocked expression. I told him I loved you, that I wanted to spend my life with you, and that I understood he had concerns about my background. He said, and I quote, "You've proven yourself capable of growth, Mr. Park. Don't make me regret supporting this." He gave you permission? He gave us his blessing. Minjun pulled her closer. After reminding me about those power structures he controls that I don't. Your father is terrifying when he wants to be. Naomi laughed, joy bubbling up. Welcome to the family, Minjun Park. Best decision I ever made, he said, was kneeling in that ballroom to help you. Second best was falling in love with you. Third best will be marrying you. Only third best? First two are tough competition. He kissed her. But I'm willing to spend the rest of my life trying to rank all my best decisions involving you. Outside, the city hummed with life. In Minjun's organization, men whispered about the social worker who'd changed their boss. In Naomi's office, case files waited for Monday. In Pastor Baptiste's church, wedding plans were already being discussed. Their futures were uncertain, challenging, full of obstacles neither could completely predict. But they had each other. They had love, built on honesty, respect, and the courage to challenge each other toward growth. They had the wisdom to know that perfect love didn't mean easy love. It meant committed love, even through complexity. And sometimes, that was the best kind of power there was. But here's what I didn't tell you yet, and what's coming in the next video that you need to see. 3 weeks before their wedding, someone from Minjun's past showed up with information that would force Naomi to make an impossible choice: protect the man she loves or protect the principles that define who she is. And the decision she makes? It's going to shock you. If you want to know what happens when love and loyalty collide with morality and justice, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me, would you have accepted Minjun's help for your brother? Or would you have done what Naomi did? And turn on notifications because the next chapter of this story drops next week. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. Until then, remember, the most powerful relationships aren't built on perfection. They're built on two people brave enough to choose each other, complications and all. I'll see you in the next one.